Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tania from Baby J'adore. For those who already subscribed, thank you, and for those who are new, welcome. All right guys, this video is all about postpartum care. I'm gonna try to run through this very quickly. And I want to make this video just because I did not research enough about postpartum care while I was pregnant. I mean, I looked up, how much money is it gonna take for me to raise a child the first year? How many diapers am I gonna need? What do I have to do to breastfeed, etc., etc., etc. Like, where do I register? What's the best stroller? What's the best car seat? But I didn't focus enough on what happens once you give birth to a baby. How do you heal from a vaginal birth or a C-section? So when I gave birth to my son, I gave birth vaginally. I got home 3 days later, and I was still in a lot of pain until I would say up to 6 weeks, because I tore it to the 2nd degree. And so I just wish I did a little bit more research about postpartum, and so that's why I'm doing this video. So I'm going to talk very lightly about C-sections because I did not have one. I won't spend a lot of time on it. What I will say is this: a C-section is a major surgery, whether, however you look at it. And so what I will say is you got to make sure you listen to your medical personnel when they send you home with advice on what to do and what not to do, like not lifting, driving, bending over, etc., etc. They know, right? Because you have an incision, you want to make sure that it heals properly. You don't want it to bleed, and not for nothing, you're going to be in pain if you decide to lift, a 20-pound dumbbell the day of your surgery. And so that's number one. Number two, bleeding. Bleeding is expected, but excessive bleeding is not. So if you notice that you are bleeding a lot from your incision site, it's a problem. Make sure you call your provider. And then the other thing is infection. Everybody knows that there is a high risk of an infection when you have a C-section, right? They're cutting you open. And so some signs you want to look for are pain, swelling, and redness. And then also, if you smell something bad around your incision site, then it is highly probable that it is infected. And so you really want to make sure that you pay attention to your body, listen to your body, look at your incision site. If you think there's something wrong, there probably is. Do not ignore your gut. Speak up for yourself. If you think, that, dang, this is day 6 now, I should be feeling a little bit better, but my pain is still high, be vocal about it. This is your body. Maybe something went wrong in surgery. We all watch medical shows. Maybe somebody forgot something in you. I wish that on nobody, but it is a thing. And so that's really what I am going to say about C-sections. As far as a vaginal delivery, again, I had a vaginal birth and I also had a natural birth. So I did not get any medication. And I tore to the 2nd degree. There are different levels of tears. So tear 1 is, a very slight tear. Tear number 2, which is what I had, is the tear of the skin and the muscle. And usually those type of tears require stitches, which I got. And they take about maybe 4 to 8 weeks to heal. I didn't know that. And so when I had my episiotomy at first, she stitched me up. I was numb. It was cool, whatever. I went home, and days later, as it started to heal, I guess it was everything was tightening up. It was just so painful. I couldn't even sit on my butt. I was so uncomfortable. And so one thing that I do want to say about that is before you go, the doctor or the nurse the doctor will prescribe you some medications. I think they prescribed me Motrin or Tylenol for the pain. And so, really listen to your body. If you have a little bit of pain, or if you have pain, make sure you treat that properly. Because the thing is, if you're stressed because of your pain, and you want to breastfeed, that's going to affect it. It's a trickle down effect. If you're in pain, then your milk production will decrease, etc., etc. So we don't want that, right? And so the other thing about the episiotomy is it does take a little while to heal. I didn't know that. I really didn't. So the other thing that is very stressful is that you eventually have to poop, right? You're going to have to strain, or you don't want to strain rather. So you make sure that you leave with a stool softener, or that you send your partner out to get a stool softener like Colas or whatever. Stool softeners are sold over the counter in any pharmacy or grocery store. Make sure you pop a stool softener, because you do not want to strain and have a 2nd degree tear and then, you know, you're gonna have a lot more problems than really what you need. And so those are like the top 2 things that I can really highly remember, is the importance of stool softeners, and that the episiotomy is going to take a while to heal, and you're going to be in pain. So make sure you have your pain medications on hand. You may not have to take them, but just make sure you have them on hand. The other thing that the nurse helped me do while I was in the hospital, and this will most likely happen with you as well. And I have all the things here from my birth, like 8 months ago, because the nurse that I had was awesome. She gave me like a stack of stuff, diapers, wipes. I mean, she gave me a whole thing. So after you give birth, bleeding is expected. They say that you can bleed up to 6 weeks. As far as the amount, you know, every woman is different. I did not bleed a lot. I thought I was going to bleed a lot just because, but I did not bleed a lot. And so, right after you give birth, this is what you're going to be provided. This is like a huge pad, guys. I don't know if you can see it. So it's a huge pad that she's going to give you. And then this is a perineal ice pack. I'm not going to open it, but you just crack it and then you put it on your pad like so, okay? And then these are Medi pads. They're basically like hemorrhoidal pads with witch hazel, which helps with inflammation and pain and discomfort, and itch, and all that stuff. So you take a pad, you open it up. I don't think I open. Oh yeah. So you just take a pad, and I'll do it for the sake of this video, and you just line it up like so. I'm going to show you guys in a second. So you take your pads and you put your little hemorrhoidal pads on top of the ice pack, okay? And then this is Dermablast. It's basically a pain relieving spray, and it provides fast relief and itching. So you spray it on here. I'm not going to spray it, but you spray it on here, and then you close up everything, right? Like so. And this lovely little number. And again, this is clean. Like I said, I have a ton of stuff left from my birth. This is just a mesh disposable underwear. So everything goes into the underwear. It's not gonna stay, but I'm sure you guys get the drift. Everything goes into your underwear, and you are walking around with a huge you're walking around with a huge underwear and a huge pad. But guys, it is so needed because the pain is real. The pain is really real. I mean, I had hemorrhoids, okay? I had hemorrhoids before I gave birth. They weren't uncomfortable, but they were definitely there. So the little pads right here definitely helped. The other thing too that she gave me was this hydrocortisone cream. So basically a steroid, just to make sure that my hemorrhoids were under control. So what I did is I washed myself with a peri bottle, and they give you that at the hospital as well. I've tossed that out, but it's basically like a squirt bottle, and to clean yourself, you're going to sit on the bowl and squirt yourself lightly with some water, lukewarm water, and then you're going to pat down on your perineal area and do this little concoction right here. I did put the cream on my hemorrhoids directly, and then I did this little guy right here. And honestly, I did this thing maybe for a whole week, and then my bleeding subsided substantially, so I just went ahead and used regular pads. But please make sure that you do leave, and I'm sure that your medical personnel will not let you leave the hospital without that. She gives you that little squirt bottle, and of course on Amazon you can find anything, and I'll link a bottle that's similar to what you can find at the hospital. Make sure you leave with that. She will also, well, at least the nurse that I had gave me a new basin where basically it's a sitz bath where you put hot water, and you do not sit on the hot water, in the hot water rather, you just sit above it, and the moisture and the steam from the hot water will help with the healing of your area. I don't have it to show you guys because obviously I threw it out, but basically there's like this little holes that you connect to it, and so it allows you to replenish the water as the water gets cold, right? Unfortunately I don't have the contraption, but it's really awesome. Use it. I used it every time, I felt really uncomfortable. I, sat on it, and it felt really, really good. So the sitz bath, the hemorrhoid cream, this little guy right here, the Dermablast, all that in combination really helped me with my postpartum care. Like I said, pain is inevitable, whether you give birth via C-section or vaginal, but these are definitely helpful in the process. Another thing that I really didn't look into that really didn't register with me is my milk coming in, right? So when you're pregnant, you know that eventually your milk is going to come in, and the lactation nurse told me, right? She told me that your milk is going to come in between day 3 and day 5. However, she did not tell me I was going to be in a lot of pain. So my advice to you guys is, if you plan on breastfeeding, I'm sure you have a pump or maybe not, but in my experience, what happened is I came home day 3, my breasts were huge and like hard, super hard. And it was so uncomfortable, so painful. It's like this immense rush of fluid that's just stuck there. I don't know how to describe it, but it's so painful. And then you have this tiny human that's crying. You're crying because you're so tired and you're in pain because you gave birth. Like, it's a lot going on. Long story short, between day 3 and day 5, expect your breast to go from a size A to a size double D. What I had to do is take my pump and actually express some milk out to feel some relief. I know, some moms might be worried about, oh, but it's so early for me to pump. I don't want to mess up my milk production. Kudos to you. I needed relief. My kiddo was not latching enough, or he was latching actually, but obviously, he's 3 days old. He's not going to empty out my breast. So I was in pain. So I breastfed him and then I pumped. I was so relieved. And I wish somebody had told me that, hey, Tanya, when you get your pump, work with your pump, sterilize your pump in advance, know how it works. I was literally on YouTube like a maniac. You know that little emojicon or whatever that's like typing? That was me on YouTube typing, how the heck do I put this pump together so I can get my milk out? So my advice to you is work with your pump, sterilize it. That way, if you do need it when your milk comes in, you have it, there's no issues, you're good to go. And then we resumed breastfeeding like normally, and then I didn't pump for another 3 months until I was ready to start my milk stash for him. And so that is definitely my advice as far as postpartum care for your breast. Another advice is try to get some help, try to get some rest, because it is real. I think I was on a high. My birth was so fast. I literally pushed 4 times and he was out and I was done. When I got transferred to the room, I was dancing, I was twerking, I was fine. And then 3 days later, I got home and I was exhausted. And I'm still exhausted to this day, because having a kid is real, having a kid is hard, right? It's also worth it, but it's still hard and you're tired. And so another advice to you is, if you can get some help anyway, whether it's a neighbor bringing food, if it's, your in-laws coming in watching the baby for 2 hours while you sleep, if it's, your sister coming in to do laundry, whatever, take it. The saying, it takes a village, is really real. Like, it's not a joke. And so that's my last piece of advice. If you experience giving birth and you have any tips or advice on postpartum care, don't be afraid to comment below. And I really hope this video helped you guys. I will link any item that I discussed down here. And don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, bye guys.